Hello, hello. Thank you for tuning into Kind of Fake News,
where we don't take ourselves too seriously.
And you can't fact check half of this.
That's right. And we are in holiday season. It is December. I see Sarah's got her cozy scarf on.
I do. I'm all Christmased out.
I got my green and red on. Got the tree up.
Nice. Oh, I love that you're right in front of the tree too. Nice background. I got my Christmas stuff here too.
I got some lights in the back, but they're always there.
What's that?
I got these lights right here, but they're always there, you know.
They're always there. They're just always ready for the
holiday spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas all year. That's why.
I'm not right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to our podcast every month. We delve into all types of different topics. Some things controversial, some things lighthearted, and we're always happy with all of you that come on the journey with us. We would like to say a special thank you for Turn It Up Live for making this all possible.
Turn it up.
Turn it up. And you can, always find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or the website www.turnitupproductions.com. That's with one P, turnitupproductions.com. And of course, on all the media, like, subscribe, follow, share. You know how it's done. Show support.
Right.
When you go on this journey with us, we always like to make sure that you smile, learn, wander, and wonder.
Yeah, if you're watching, please hit the subscribe.
Yes,
it
subscribe.
Really helps and shows the support in the algorithm and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it shows us that you're listening and that you're liking what we're putting out. And we always love when you guys comment, so we know what you want to hear more about. So it's the holiday season, and we got lots of topics to jump into. I am your host, Selena Bryan. I am your holistic guru with all things alternative. And then we have Sarah Sanchez. She's our astrology savant. How are you, Sarah?
Good.
And then we have Jarrett Cicero, our conspiracy head. How are you?
I'm just chilling.
Chilling like a villain. I like that shirt.
Yeah.
It's looks like a Dare shirt.
It does, but it, for the woo.
I thought it was.
Woo. It's old. This thing's from high school.
That's perfect. I want one of those now. Get it for me for Christmas.
I know, yeah. I want a Dare shirt too.
I
swear to God, before I put this shirt on, I took off an official Dare shirt.
Oh, the Dare hoodie that I bought last year. I still have it.
I don't have any Dare shirts. I don't know why. Well, I massively, compulsively clean out my closet a lot and purge everything and then get all new stuff. So there's only two things I have that I've had.
I mean, a neat quarter.
I can't give up my concert t-shirts, If I went to the show and grabbed it, gotta take it forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I have my cup that I thought Sarah would enjoy. Gemini cup. And then it says all the states of Gemini on it.
I love it. Good old Gemini.
I figured she could relate. But let's jump right into it. What do we have on our astrology review?
So we kind of have a lot. I really like this month's astrology. It's good. I like it. We start off right off the bat with on December 1st, Neptune retrograde ends. So if you remember last month, there was a ton of retrogrades ending, right? And that kind of continues into this month. There's a couple things going direct, right? So it kind of just picks right back up on December 1st. Neptune's retrograde ends. It goes direct in Pisces. Now, the retrograde is this sort of, when Neptune is retrograde, it's sort of this stripping away of any illusions, dreams, or realities that we've kind of created for ourselves. Anything that clouds our vision, it kind of strips that away. But then when it's direct, Neptune being direct sort of gives us a break from that, where it lets us it sort of encourages that denial aspect where it allows us to ignore any nagging fears that we have that we aren't ready to face yet. It's kind of that energy, like that just, it's not forcing us to face anything, right? Everything that was stripped away in the retrograde, that sort of comes back, and we can put that cloudy judgment back over our vision if we want to. So that's right off at the beginning of the month. And then on the 4th is the new moon in Sagittarius and a solar eclipse on the same day. So solar eclipses are like sudden shifts. It's like a sudden changes, things like that. That's what solar eclipses represent. And then the new moon in Sagittarius really represents adventure, exploration, right? Sagittarius is the archer. So it's kind of like sudden shifts into a different trajectory, shifts that change our direction completely is what we'll kind of see here. It has this really mystical, expansive kind of power. And then, so we're going to see a lot of like sudden opportunities, new beginnings, a lot of life lessons kind of just, coming to fruition, things like that. So that's a key point in the beginning of the month, is kind of represents shifts in general. And it can be, like a shift in perspective, a sudden change in anything really. It can be inner or outer. It's not really specified with that. Then the 13th, so on the 13th, there's a couple of things that happen. So Mars enters Sagittarius, and it'll be in Sagittarius for 6 weeks. And it kind of brings this energy of like a quest for action, adventure, and truth, fueled by this sort of wanderlust, passionate kind of, energy centered around our ideals. And so it's just kind of this, it pushes, right? It gives us that push in that passionate direction, but you just want to make sure that you don't act too quickly with any energies like this, right? You just always want to think things through. Don't be too compulsive, because that's a good energy, but anything used the wrong way, if you act too quickly and you don't think things through, it can always be, have consequences. And so on the 13th as well, Mercury enters Capricorn. So we know Mercury, communication. Capricorn is kind of like the nuts and bolts. It's really business centered. And so we'll see that communication around this time turns really business-like, right? And so it's a really good time to focus on our reputation, our image, career advancement, anything like that. And then the 18th is the full moon, and it's called the cold moon, or the long night moon is what it's also known as. And there's a few, like there's always so many different names. I think just based on, throughout the ages.
I wonder if it has to do with like the equinox, for it being like the long night moon, and it being
right
lining up with like the equinox time period.
Right. Yeah, because it's kind of like the longest one. It's just essentially the longest one, I think, of the year, pretty much. So
the longest night or the longest moon?
Well, just, I mean, that you can.
Well, technically, that would make it the longest moon.
Yeah, bad question.
Yeah.
That's not a bad question. I was kind of thinking the same thing, but
I was like, I think that it's just, I think it's both.
Because it's the longest night of the year, that would mean you would see the
longest. Yeah. And
that makes together, Jared.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense, because I didn't even look into that, but being the longest. Yep. Right. So, and it's in Gemini as well. So it's kind of a time to rest, and it's kind of a time to rest, renew. It's kind of like a little bit of a pause, but it's also this hopeful energy. it's like this dormant energy kind of ruminating, and it welcomes change, freedom, intuition, excitement, and it's like a good energy. It's under the influence of a fixed star that brings health, honor, riches, and pleasure. So it's like a pretty good energy leading up, you know, right
What part
around
of December is that?
December 18th.
Okay, so
It's
all kind of making sense with like the Christmas season. Like,
well, yeah, watch how it lines up, how all of it just lines up so well with really what you would want it to be around the holidays. So
what's cool is that, like, in the beginning you said you get this like cloudy type of vision, or it could be like ignoring
So that's
negative
the
things,
Neptune.
right? Because it seems like the rest of the month follows up with a lot of positive stuff.
Yeah.
right. So actually kind of like so far into the month, what I'm kind of summing up is, so like the very, very beginning is clarity. So that makes me think of like, okay, is like a parent, when you first get into December, you're not really in the holiday mood yet. You're just thinking like, oh, Christmas is going to come up. I got to buy all the gifts. I got to check my paycheck. I got to this. So you're kind of like in the clarity. And then you get like the warm feels and the candle feels.
Yeah,
and
the Neptune direct.
like, it's the holiday. And then once you get into like the 18th with the whole freedom and pleasure, that's when people are like maybe going to parties or enjoying the holidays, maybe starting to have some time off or get into like vacation mode. And with the Capricorn, with the money, that's when everyone's out buying gifts and figuring out their money. And it kind of reminds me of like a Hallmark Channel month. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
Dreamy and then you got snap back into like reality.
Yeah, Hallmark vibes all the way. Because it's also, so the full moon also kind of represents, so it's in Gemini and we're in like Sagittarius season, right? So this Gemini Sagittarius thing. So Gemini is really more so the lower mind, logical thinking. And then Sagittarius is the higher mind, broader thinking, right? The exploration, thinking bigger. And this full moon really tells us that we have to have a balance between that, right? Because being too logical or too broad either can have consequences. You want to be balanced between the two. So it's kind of a time where this melds together. So communication sort of becomes adventurous, right? So it's kind of like things building up inside of us that this helps us let out. Like it's been building up and it's time to let it out, you know? So you might have to be a little more adventurous with your communication to, you know, get your point across, let someone know how you feel, right? So that Sagittarius aspect really helps put that adventure piece on it, helps you, you know, be willing to explore and try new things. And that Gemini portion really helps us to communicate what's going on within us. So we need that adventure piece, that communication piece that really ties together and just helps us express things that we need to express that have been building up. And
that
then,
makes a lot of sense. Like with it being the holidays, okay, so a lot of people are going to see family members, maybe family members they haven't seen in a year or two because of, you know, COVID and not being able to go out and about as much, but like kind of rekindling family things, maybe talking about things with family that you haven't been able to really talk to because it's not something you wouldn't talk about unless you're face to face. Everyone getting together, like you said, being like communicative and expressing things that you haven't been expressing. And I think with what society's been going through, I think what the expression is going to be more heartfelt because, you know, a lot of people have lost loved ones. A lot of things have happened that are negative over the last year or two. So I think it's going to be where people are starting to get real sentimental and expressing themselves in that way. So I think it lines up really good, especially for this year, for this season, about that expression and the way in which the communication is going to be key.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of almost like that push comes to shove as well around the holidays because things are building up and we express them, right? That can kind of be good or bad though, because so the 19th, Venus is retrograde in Capricorn, and it'll be there for the next 40 days, starting the 19th, which is like right before Christmas, right? So Venus is already uncomfortable in Capricorn, right? Venus,
Right.
love, monies, you know, and Capricorn, very, you know, cut, dry business. It's just not its natural element whatsoever. On top of it, it's also retrograde. So this is a time where close relationships may be tested. Makes sense. Holiday season, right? And it also, because Venus rules money and things like that, right? So you're also at high risk for spending on a whim and having buyer's remorse. And then it's kind of going to make or break relationships at this time. So we sort of, at this time, you just take a deeper look at who and what we're investing, who and what we're investing in, essentially. And is that worth it, right? So it kind of like, it's right in your face, and it involves love, money. It just makes us really look at it and reevaluate it. So again, another thing that really makes sense right around that time, because this is really coming up where everyone's getting together. And I mean, think about it. You really evaluate when the holidays come, you reevaluate what's important to you, right? Who am I spending Christmas with? What, you know, what are we doing? Who am I spending money on? What am I spending my money on? It just really, it really brings all of that up and makes you look at it.
It sounds like it like kind of boils down to your emotionality and decision making. Like, for example, you're at the store, you're shopping, and you're thinking of a specific person. Are you going to shop practically? Or are you going to shop in a whimsical way? And are you going to get something that they've been dreaming about, or are you going to get something that you know they need? It's kind of like that process of, oh, am I buying the kids clothes? Right? Am I buying this ridiculous item that they probably will play with once, but you know they'll be excited to see it? You know what I mean?
And
it's
then
kind of like
how you feel about that particular person too, how much you're going to spend, what you're going to invest in them, right? So it really just brings up, makes us, you know, evaluate our relationship to money and people, right? And then on the 19th, the day after that, Chiron, which is, it's known as the wounded healer, right? It's, it was in retrograde since July 15th. That retrograde ends the 19th. So, and it goes retrograde every year, right around like July, and ends in December. Now, Chiron, it represents our wounds, right? So when it's retrograde, that kind of represents, it's a time period of processing pain. You're sort of dressing your old wounds, essentially. And so it's kind of a time where you just ruminate, process, stew on things. It's that inward portion of the healing, right? And then when it goes direct, it's that time where you move forward. Really, the healing happens. You channel your old, you know, previous struggles into action. So and this happens every year, right? So everything ebbs and flows. So that's just a good thing to know in general too, that Chiron it goes retrograde every year. It's retrograde about half the year. It's direct about half the year. And that's sort of, I mean, it's a good way to know the ebbs and flows of healing. It's a cycle, right? Every year there's an inward portion where it's the part where you kind of stew on it. You just process it. You're forced to kind of sit with it. It's like right there. And then end of the year, it's like it's that when that older and wiser portion really steps in and you take action based on what you've learned, who you are now, you know, changes that you've made, anything like that. Because there's always, with healing, there's always this portion of the really difficult part. Like I call it sort of the ugly part, right? Where it's hard, it's you're having to cope with a lot of things. It's not always pretty. And then there's the beautiful part as well. I mean, both are beautiful, right? But the sort of more cleaned up version where you're, you know, when all is said and done, when you skip to the good part where you know, you do something good comes of your healing, right? So that's just good to be aware of every year, that's sort of the ebb and flow of that. And
what was
then,
Chiron?
I was just about to stop her and say something about that.
Yeah, so it's like, it's an asteroid, essentially. It's not a planet. It's like a
So how does the asteroid go retrograde? Or
so
is that not?
It's just it goes like around the Earth, but it's just not an actual planet.
Oh,
You know,
okay. So when does this
it
start
doesn't
going
qualify
retrograde? Is it a
as a
certain
planet.
date?
It just doesn't like qualify as a planet, I guess.
Right. So is there a specific date that starts the retrograde?
Yeah, so it's different every year. This year, for
Mhm.
example, it was July 15th. But like last year, I think it was like July 13th or something. So it's just like different times, but it's typically in the month of July, and then in the month of December, it goes direct again.
So what, December 15th it goes direct again?
December 19th. So July 15th, it went
Okay.
retrograde, and then the 19th, it goes direct.
All right.
So
I'm getting at something here.
What's that?
I'm getting at something here. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit down a rabbit hole. Like if you're
Please
save
do.
your spot, thumb your spot where you are,
Okay.
because I'm gonna take you on a little journey. Okay, so I want you guys to watch the news on December 19th, just to see what happens, because so
That's a
this
good point.
asteroid's called Chiron, right? And it's, as you said, the wounded healer, the dressing of wounds, that kind of terminology that you use. So Chiron, now this is me going like out there with a conspiracy theory right now. Chiron is the name of a company that in the beginning of COVID, before COVID started, bought the patent for the COVID vaccine in 2019. Was called
Selena's
Chiron.
dropping the bombs right now.
It was named Chiron, and they bought the patent for the vaccine from previous COVID strains, but it was years and years and years later after those kind of COVID strains. And then the sale of them, of the purchasing of the vaccine patent, happened in 2019 before COVID actually hit like it did. So they are the ones, they were one of a few companies that are making tons of money off of the vaccine being distributed, and the name of it is called Chiron.
Because
Now this
they
is
own the rights to the sickness, right?
right, and it's called the Wounded Healer Dressing Wounds.
Yeah.
And they bought a vaccine patent. So if it starts, the starting of this direct is on December 19th. I'm wondering if in the news something major is going to happen having to do with COVID. So I'm just putting it out there.
I would even
Right.
give or take like a day or two.
Right.
Even if it's not right on the 19th. That is
Right.
Right.
Because it
Just
might
around
not happen. Something might happen.
Yeah.
So, okay, going way out there. Say there's some culty thing that happens on like the 19th, but doesn't hit news media, whatever, till like the 22nd or something.
Yeah.
Just that week, I want everyone to kind of, I might be
Yeah.
crazy. I'm just saying there's some lines there.
As with all of the planets, right? Even these dates aren't exact. Like sometimes you'll see something like right on a specific date, but also leading up to it, there's called like shadow periods. So like, for example, Venus going retrograde on December 19th as well, because Venus goes retrograde and Chiron goes direct. Same day. So those
I'm
are
wondering if the leading up to it is this new variant. the new variant of COVID is leading up to
Right.
something that's going to
Well,
happen
yeah,
on the
'cause they
19th.
say all the things that come with the Venus retrograde, for example, you can feel like quite a while before Venus actually goes retrograde, you get this shadow period because energies aren't like cut dry, right? There's not like a, divider. They just sort of start to mend and blend into
Merge into
All right.
energy.
I'm going to put my prediction out there right now. My guess is going to be that around the 19th, they're going to come up with, okay, this new variant, the Omicron or whatever variant, the vaccine you currently have doesn't keep you safe from it because it has like 30 spike proteins or whatever like that. So what they did, took the vaccine they already have, tweaked it, and now they're going to mandate this new one around the 19th that everyone needs to get it. That's my guess. Like instead of a booster, you got to get this thing now. That's just
Right.
my honest prediction. I could be
Like
completely
it's
wrong.
a totally different one. Yeah.
You
Or
can
just
watch this right
something
now, and
like
it's after the
that.
19th. But
Or something, just even anything related to,
Right.
the vaccine at all would prove that,
I just found as soon as you said Chiron, I'm like, I've heard that name before.
Yeah. And it's interesting how these, like on the 13th, there's the both of the transits that sort of play off of each other. Same thing with the 19th, with the Venus retrograde in Capricorn and Chiron goes direct. They both really play off of each other with really pushing you to heal. It's really a shift. Things shift regarding all those aspects at once. And then what I like is that right on Christmas, Venus that's in Capricorn retrograde, it's conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is this, transformative energy, sexual, whatever. And it's just interesting because there's like major sexual energy on this day on Christmas. It's this Pluto energy of transformation, forcing you to want to go deeper. And then it's that Venus retrograde in Capricorn as well. So it's kind of all of those things melding together. And it kind of just brings this really, really kind of deep energy. But again, with this, it can do more harm than good if you're not careful. Any huge influx of energy, passion, like
direct it correctly.
Yeah, direct it correctly. And then very end of the month, the 28th, and I love this because it's like right before New Year's Eve, Jupiter enters Pisces. So this is a good time where you can attract luck and opportunities through imagination, intuition, compassion sort of energies. So it's kind of like that manifesting sort of energy. And you'll really see this energy towards acts of charity and tenderness. And you'll see that being rewarded as well as the world, it becomes a little kinder, right? It's really it's really points towards the world just being more tender, being more compassionate, rewarding that type of behavior, really focusing on that. And then also there's like a few, there's always so many, there's like major, transits, and then there's always so many little ones, right? We wouldn't ever have time to cover them all. But so there's a few right at the end of the month along with that it just really communication improves and helps us find words to tell our loved ones how we truly feel deep inside. And it really pushes us to have deep conversations about more serious subjects. And it's also a really good time to work on any long-term projects, anything like that. There's just really energy supporting going deeper, knowing how to do that, connecting, communicating, which absolutely makes sense around that time.
And that makes perfect sense. That's perfect sense for a 2022 New Year's reunion versus last year. And now everybody's so much more appreciative of life and family and togetherness because of everybody going through so much with everything that's been happening last year or two. So I think that the stars always line up with exactly what's happening. It just works out that way. Well, thank you for that astrology review. It was
Awesome
juicy.
review.
That was good, right? I love that.
Yeah, well. So we'll switch right on over to my holistic review. So I was thinking what to do for December. So there's obviously tons of things in the world that you can do an alternative for. And I'm like, well, it's the cold season. And what happens that I don't like in the cold season is what it does to your skin. I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold. I'm sorry for all you snow lovers out there. We up here live in the north where it's cold. And it makes my skin crack and get light and do all different types of stuff. And now I know this portion guys aren't going to really care about as much, but guys should care about their skin health as well. So this is stuff that guys can do too.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is stuff guys can do too. So in your pores, if you've ever squeezed your pores, there's times where you can squeeze your pores and a white, thin string can like be pressed out of your pores, right? Have we all had this? Not even specifically a way, but just your regular pores, you can like squeeze out and oil, like white oil, and your body naturally produces this. This isn't necessarily just because you have dirty skin or whatever. So this that you squeeze out of it, it's called sebaceous filament. So it's mostly made up of what is called sebum, or AKA the oil that your skin produces. So for this, there's tons of things on the market there, and most of them are actually counterproductive. So like your doing extraction isn't good for it. Doing glue strips is horrible for it. You can get spider veins. You can get broken capillaries. You can get red flakes.
No, I do
so
know.
Stop the glue strips, Sarah. The blackhead strips can tear your pores and make it actually worse. Alcohol-based cleaners, it dries your skin out, which makes your body say, oh no, my skin's dry. And then your skin will automatically start producing even more sebum. So it's counterproductive. It'll make your skin oilier than it was before you used an agent to dry it out. So you don't want to use a bunch of oil-based products. Alcohol-based products. You don't want to use alcohol-based products. It'll just make your skin produce more sebum.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is keep your skin moisturized. So you would think, oh, my skin's oily. Why do I want to keep it super moisturized? And I'm not saying super moisturized. You just want to keep it moisturized so your body's like, okay, it's already moisturized enough. I don't need to produce more. So there's different treatments that will help you keep that low sebum level. One thing is like sugar scrubs. Sugar scrubs are great. If you've never done them before, I
love the sugar lip scrubs.
Yeah, you can get like little sugar cubes. They come in like a jar. You can get them at like Walmart, Target, wherever. They're called sugar scrubs. And even if you just break them in half, you don't even need to use the whole one, and scrub your face, and that'll help a lot too, because it still keeps your skin moist if you feel afterwards. And get the stuff out of the pores and keep it moist. And then you can make your own kind of like natural holistic face treatment as well. So do like a 5-minute treatment, mix together aloe with vitamin C, turmeric, which everybody sleeps on turmeric. Turmeric does a ton of stuff. You want to add turmeric, coconut oil, and lemon. Mix that all together, do like a 5-minute treatment, and wash it off. Aside from just that treatment, she's already taking notes down. Lemon, coconut oil.
You said turmeric, lemon,
coconut oil, and aloe with vitamin C, turmeric, coconut oil, and lemon. And then also, before you put your makeup on, you want to use a SPF primer. That will help best, even if it's, because a lot of people only use the SPF primer if it's summer and beach weather, but that's not necessarily the only time you want to use it. It's actually really good for your skin. Use that primer to protect your skin from the makeup that you're wearing. Obviously, if no one's ever told you, wash your makeup up every night before you go to bed, because that will be the worst for your skin, keeping that on. When you wash your skin at night, After you use the warm water to wash everything off, splash your face with ice cold water. Because what the ice cold water does is it'll close your pores back up. So you've washed everything off. The warm water has opened your pores. So now you have clean, open pores. And now if you just go to sleep like that, you have wide open pores for dirt to get in. After you clean and have this warm, open pores, you want to hit it with the cold water and it'll close your pore back up so that you don't have to worry about when you're sleeping, more oil getting in. And then you want to do like a clay mask once a week. So clay masks help a lot too.
Love clay masks.
So use those tips, especially during the winter, to help keep away from horrible skin. And guys can do this too. You don't need to let your girl know that you're putting lemon on your face. Just keep it on the DL and have your healthy skin. So that is my holistic review.
I love that. That is so helpful. Because I've been struggling.
You look beautiful, Sarah.
Well, my lips have been chapped like almost every day. And then
sugar scrub your lips too. Sugar scrub your lips too.
Yeah, I love that. And my thing is trying not to pick at it once you feel those hard pieces of skin, once it starts to chap. And then you want to pick it up. It's disgusting. I hate it. And then every night before I go to bed, I always put eucerin oil on my lips and stuff like that. And especially
I'm telling you, Vaseline. Use the Vaseline.
But it's seems like it's not working that great. Like I wake up, my lips are, so there are some times where you just put a little bit of chapstick on and you are good to go. Like your lips are juicy again. And then there's sometimes where it's really hard to get it rehydrated again. I'm doing everything. I'm okay, when you drink some coconut water, some lemon water, I'm trying to hydrate from the inside out. I use aloe vera.
Can I put some Vaseline on your lips, like a healthy amount, like you're putting lip gloss on? Yeah. Put the Vaseline on, go to bed, and text me in the morning and tell me how your lips feel.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I do every night.
It soaks it up. It just sucks it all up.
It sits on there. It just sits on there. It's it's hard and dry underneath.
I'm gonna be your elf on the shelf. I'm gonna come make sure that you're doing it.
I feel for me, it's if it gets to a certain point of dryness, if it's I'm dehydrated or something, it doesn't matter what I put on the skin. It's not absorbing it. It's just it feels like it's sitting on the skin, where there are other times that I put it on, I can literally put it on for an hour, just a tiny bit. And I'm a complete.
Try coconut oil on your lips.
Yeah, I'll have to try that too.
Because obviously the Vaseline isn't soaking in, so maybe you need something that's a little thinner.
Well, and I've always needed to use gels more so than lotions. That I hate sunscreen.
See, my skin just soaks everything up and disappears. I can spray perfume on myself and you don't smell it, even if it's expensive, long wearing ones. My skin just soaks everything up. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, so that's my holistic review. And the part that we always have the most fun with is Jert with his conspiracy.
Yeah, what do we
So what do you got for us today?
Yeah, so the the conspiracy topic for this month. I would like to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And while I talk about this, I'll probably get passionate in certain parts because a lot of it doesn't make sense, but from what I seen from it, you know what I mean? There was a person. Let's just look at it from the overall conspiracy filter, right? Because a lot of the people on the internet is going to say he possibly works for the government or is a patsy of some sort, like the movie theater shootings or the other shootings that have happened. Let's put that through that filter. So maybe he's a patsy for the government, or maybe he's just a very confused individual. Either way, he was wearing surgical gloves, right? And crossed a state line. I think he picked up the gun in the other state. I don't think he crossed the border with the state. but that's at least a part of his defense. Regardless, to me, that sounds like premeditated. I'm at least using this weapon, right? Possibly premeditated murder. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not to stop your flow, but for those who haven't been up to date, I know most people have been up to date on the Rittenhouse case, but kind of give like just a quick overview of what the whole Rittenhouse case is all about.
Yeah, because I only read a little bit, only because it was non-avoidable. But
Right.
it's like I tried, especially lately, to really filter out anything that I know is going to be like emotionally charging for me.
Right. And I know most of our conspiracy heads probably know all about it, but for those tuning in that don't really know anything about it, let's start with a kind of like a back case of it.
I'm gonna I feel very one-sided about it personally. I think it's outrageous, like everything that is going on and is in our current media today. I know their defense is that this kid was just, you know, trying to protect some buildings in the midst of a, you know, a protest that really wasn't like his business, regardless of what's going on, right? See, I'm gonna get back into like what I don't like about all of this stuff while trying to explain it. But
Right.
he believed that he was being righteous and protecting property, and then in the midst of that ended up killing 3 people. You know, these 3 people were associated with BLM and were protesting civil rights issues that we still have today, and events that had happened in the past, you know. And he was also acquitted of these charges and left with $2 million in cash because that was his bail. You know what I'm saying? At the least. So yeah, it's very confusing. So I think there's a conspiracy maybe behind it, a quote unquote conspiracy, or is it just really like this fucked up in our world, right? So this kid, he had surgical gloves on. He had military style weaponry as far as the butt stock was concerned on the AR-15 that was loaded. Maybe he picked it up in the state where the event took place, but he didn't live there. Apparently his father owned a business there, and that's where his intentions of going to protect it. I think it was part of the defense, though. He probably had the weapon ahead of time going.
Right. He's probably been had that.
I mean, because there was no adults involved in protecting any of these properties. I believe it was him and a few other friends of his that at some point seemed to get separated from him. Crazy individual. I would have too. You know, I wouldn't have been in another state nonetheless. But yeah, so I mean, this is just like regular court stuff. I'm not an attorney or any of these things, but it kind of sounds like you're putting yourself in a place where inevitably you're going to have issues over it, you know,
Right.
regardless of what his personal standing is and what he was trying to do. I mean, I don't know if that's up for the public to debate or for the court to debate, but the court represents the people, and the whole country seems to be pretty fucking upset about it. So I don't understand, you know, but yeah. In the midst of this, he killed 3 individuals. So let's just go to the court shit within itself. As far as I know, his lawyers weren't too concerned about the jury members within this trial. When you take a case to trial, your attorney has the opportunity to screen the members of the jury, and there'll be a certain amount of people that can possibly be on this jury, right? Obviously you want the people on there that are that you would think can relate to you the most, so you can beat or win this case.
Right. And they make it purposely, so it's not.
They didn't even care to screen these people, regardless that he was acquitted. They didn't even give a fuck to like screen any of the juror members, you know. So it's almost as if the decision was already made, right?
Right.
And this kid ends up getting like, there's just weird things like that within it, you know, when you have video and all of the stuff of everything happening, it's right. I know if I shot someone, I would be going to prison or it being sentenced to death, depending on what part of the country it happened in. And I'm sure that serves for a lot of individuals that are listening or participating in what we're doing. You shoot someone, you go to fucking jail.
Right.
Should, regardless
Do you
of
think the
who you
media
are.
coverage of it and the fact that it was a hyped up
And
case?
look at the style of gun used, right? So you would think that they would use this, the Biden administration.
Right.
I don't want to get into politics, but what don't they represent? They don't represent fucking guns. What do they represent? Change and a voice and unity and all these different things. This would have been the perfect time for the gun shit to get put down, to further separate people from maybe a different political party. You know what I'm saying? All these different sorts of things. They did not do that.
And my thing too is
the reach of the president could reach a courtroom when they can tell me I gotta wear a fucking mask to go into a store, but they can't make sure this kid goes to fucking jail for shooting people. Like,
right. And my thing is that there were so many people out there that were like, it was self-defense, let the kid go free, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so even if you were to play devil's advocate and say he didn't deserve to go to jail, how many minorities in the
he was protected by the police as soon as it happened? He walked right up to the police and they took him in, and then have further protected him. Because how many people you think were in jail that would have loved to have gotten their hands on that kid in the jail? Then he gets bailed out, right? Acquitted of the charges. His bail was like millions of dollars. That's all his money now, because that money was donated by lunatics to get him out of the fucking jail to begin with. Like,
I know, and now he's got money on top of it.
Yeah, it's insane.
Literally, so what about the minorities in the past in self-defense, women who have killed their rapists or their sex traffickers
and they go to jail,
go to prison? So my thing is, like, on my news feed, when I'm seeing people that I know defending this kid, I'm like, why didn't you speak the fuck up when so-and-so went to prison for killing their sex trafficker?
Right. And you know what?
That's
cases like this are showing
this motherfucker deserves to be free. Then you should think that all of those other people that are minorities that are in prison, why the fuck aren't you speaking up for them?
Right. You know how many people are incarcerated unjustly with a lot less evidence and proof, and
there's no way you can say it has nothing to do with the fact that he's fucking white. He's a poster boy for all of the.
I think that's when the conspiracy comes in. Why would
now this is weird, right? Because normally the conspiracy would be like, get rid of the guns, fucking, you know, all this other stuff. And I don't know what direction to go in it. Hold on, I had lost you guys for a quick second. My bad. Listen, yeah, I don't know which direction to go with it, but I think it has something to do with the vaccine in a way, right? Or COVID in a way. I don't think they care whether people get vaccinated or not, right? Because in the midst of this trial, you would think that groups like BLM and others like it would be all over the media, all over the news, which I'm sure they are, protesting, not on the news, but out in public, protesting against what, you know, just having a problem with the finding of this case. But these groups are no longer on TV like they were, because like I was saying in past podcasts, they just use things for as good as they can use them. And now you find a lot of supporters of a certain group and supporters of another group both saying fuck the vaccine. So they're not gonna, that doesn't follow our current narrative, which is all vaccine. We thought it was going to be some other stuff that got some people into office, but it's still all about COVID. Nothing
it doesn't matter
else.
who's in office.
Right. Yeah. Right. So possibly if this kid's not a patsy working for the government, right? Maybe he's just very confused and fucked up, which I'm sure he probably is, even if he worked for the government.
Right.
Probably a lot of others like
He
him.
just struck me as this arrogant white kid, like, watch me. Like, come near me.
Yeah, in like
watch
Nova
me
Scotia or
you,
some shit.
knowing the privilege he has and swinging his big dick around about it.
Yeah,
And
the AR-15 though.
No,
Right.
is this that same case where they mentioned the fact that the pastor was in the room? Is this that same case?
In his courtroom, his
In
pastor?
the courtroom, they call it out and they're like, oh, I can't remember the name of this famous pastor, black pastor. And they said something.
Yeah, I forget his name too. I'm not sure if he was in the court. I would like to think if the pastor I'm thinking about was in the courtroom, he would have gotten awfully loud, during the.
Well, no, he was being quiet. And then the defense just brought up the fact, they're like, oh, well, you guys keep bringing these pastors in, da, da, da. Like they just said something like dumb about it and it was all over the media. But just kind of trying to mess with the.
Well, what's crazy is that you got to bring one person to represent a group of people that are upset with you because you killed 3 people. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't even have to happen. Like you killed 3 people and it's on video. Like,
right.
I cannot believe, like, you know what? There's some schools who have actually
and I'm all for guns, and I'm also all for protesting. I'm for, like, I'm not for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There were some schools that like sent out like newsletters to like the whole school saying like, if any of the kids, have known what's going on with these things and how basically straight up saying like our justice system isn't always just. And if anyone needs like counseling and needs to talk, we understand. We don't believe in these kind of things. And if they need to seek counseling, like we don't approve of what's happening in the justice, like straight up just being like our justice.
And what kind of message is that? What kind of message is that, right? So if you got more kids like this kid that are fucked up and confused, the next major things that could possibly happen in our country as far as maybe protesting goes, if it doesn't, because this is an awful big problem, right? But I think more of the protesting we're going to eventually see, I don't want to put a date on it, is vaccinated against not vaccinated. Vaccinated against not vaccinated. So if you have a group of people that are vaccinated, let's say, and the government could easily create this in the scope of conspiracy. They're out there, vaccinate our kids, save our lives, save our civilization, get the shot, all of that type of stuff, right? And someone goes there and blows up a bunch of people. Then what does the mandate turn into?
Right.
It's no longer a mandate. This will be martial law. You get vaccinated, because if you don't, then you support the terrorists that killed everybody for getting vaccinated.
Right. It's like
this is on an extreme, but it's as simple as the zeitgeist. People that are that fucking confused, they're going to see someone on TV beat charges like that within the scenario that it was in, and then apply it to the next one. It's the psyop that they depend on and create.
That's right. That, you know what? We're seeing a precursor right now for the way that things are going to be withheld in the future. So whether I'm for or against vaccines, we are now dabbling with our constitutional rights. So yeah, maybe there's majority of the country on board with everyone get vaccinated, just do it, makes you safer. But now that the government's being hand-fed the ability to mandate things with our health,
or your employment,
mandate's going to be.
It affects employment, it affects kids' schooling, all of this stuff. It separates people, pushes them into the home, and eliminates their ability to make income, right? Because even if you are vaccinated and your kids are going in virtual school, one parent has to stay home. That's half the money. This is pushing people into a social welfare state. They continuously talk about a universal basic income, which is probably more likely going to be a different version of welfare before it's everybody getting $3,000 every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to turn into something else.
Right.
But I feel like it's a precursor to, okay, so sure, everybody, there's the majority of the people on board with, okay, just vaccinate, make it a mandate, make people required to have to get it. And who knows how extreme that'll get. But say 3 years down the line, okay, now we've had laws passed about mandating, making people get these shots. And then say the next thing is population control. Okay, well, now we're going to mandate if you have more than one kid that you have to abort or something like that. And
That's
there's
what I
people that won't agree with it, but there will already be laws set in place from the decisions we make today with what's going on now.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I was like, when you were saying, where does it stop next? That's exactly what popped in my head. Is I'm like,
it's not going to be what everyone's thinking of
how many kids they can have. Yeah. Just
so let's say 5 years from now, they're like, oh, well, you know, global warming's bad, food shortages, shipping shortages, there's not enough. We're going to make it so you can only have one kid, and any other kids you have after that, we're going to make you get an abortion. And because of the laws we passed during COVID, you don't get to choose. Just like you had to get a shot for vaccine, you have to get a shot to terminate that pregnancy now. And it's mandated. You have no choice because there's already laws in place that you all agreed to back in 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, because and they also stuff a lot of this craziness into these, 10,000 page bills that get signed on a whim over one problem. 9/11 was the first time. This is the second time. 2 times in our present lives where there's been a crazy shift in politics due to these events that were either orchestrated and usually look orchestrated or just catastrophes taken advantage of, either way.
Patriot Act is a perfect example. 9/11 happened. The Patriot Act was put back into place. And then they were able to do things that people wouldn't have agreed on prior to 9/11, with them being able to tap people's phones and monitor people at their own discretion. Sure, they say, okay, well, we're only monitoring you if you have suspicious activity, but they could monitor everybody.
Yeah, it eliminates all probable cause to where they don't need any reason to monitor you other than they would like to.
Just do whatever the fuck they want.
And then they make the decision of what's probable cause for monitoring. It could be something simple like you bought a $1,000 PS5. You know what I mean?
If you had, I believe it was a simple description, like if you were pulled over driving and you had binoculars and a map in your car, that is, you could be investigated for terrorism.
Right. So the things that we agree upon now,
that is suspicious. I'm just gonna say that is suspicious.
You're not allowed to be a bird watcher.
That is I was like, what are you doing?
But I think that a lot of people are, I don't want to like knock people that are like, okay, just get the vax, like let's just all like be safe and get healthy. But I just don't want people to forget what you don't understand might happen from this. What rights you are relinquishing that you don't realize now until it's too late because of the laws that you get put into place now.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, just comply so this can be over with, but it's you're complying that is going to, you're going to have to continue complying and it won't end. You know what I mean?
And it'll be too far by the time you want to riot about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when you zoom out from this stuff, you really see like how quickly, like how close we are to like what it is that we're talking about,
Right. And it's unfortunate because it's like, investigating terrorists or things like that, mandates for because of COVID-19, it's like, yeah, there are things out there that need to be controlled or investigated or are suspicious, but what it's doing is just taking all the rights and all our, it's taking away our right to just be a sovereign being that isn't harming anyone, It's like someone who'd be willing to get tested every week, will wear a mask, like just all these things. They're not harming anyone, yet you're taking away their right to be a sovereign being at all.
You know what? That reminds me of a specific example. So there was this band playing at a local venue, and there's a ton of people like ready to go. And then they said, you know, last minute, like, you cannot get into the venue unless you're vaccinated. And, you know, there's a lot of people that still went because they were vaccinated, a lot of people that didn't go because they weren't vaccinated. The thing is all the vaccinated people could be here in this big event, shoulder to shoulder each other with no mask on. But it's been proven that even vaccinated, you can spread COVID. Now they keep calling everything breakthrough case. There's some breakthrough cases, but every single case is going to be a breakthrough case.
Right. Yeah.
Those add up. Almost everybody that I know who's had
1 million
COVID
breakthrough
was
cases.
vaccinated.
I believe you
So-
can't go to the ball drop in Times Square if you're not vaccinated.
But my thing is so, okay, you can be at this event shoulder to shoulder to everybody if you have a vaccine. You don't need to wear a mask. So now you're coughing on each other. You might actually be carrying COVID. You're spreading it even more so now to people because you don't have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And I just think this is going to perpetuate the virus more so than if I was allowed to just present my negative COVID test at the door and wear a mask. I think that would be far more deterring from people catching COVID than everyone having no mask on, shoulder to shoulder.
Right. Yeah,
You know
because
what I mean?
these vaccines,
It's
they
like
don't
they're
know
trying to
the
perpetuate
effectiveness.
it.
There's all this chatter about it not being effective, and people, in fact, people more so getting COVID who have the vaccine and spreading it. But
Mhm.
you're going to say that someone who has a negative fucking test and is wearing a mask, or someone who had it 3 months ago and is clearly immune for X amount of time and
Yeah,
immune
why is
from
that a
spreading
thing?
it, spreading
If I-
According
if
to
I
what
already
they
had
say.
COVID,
yeah, and you're going to say that they can't go. Like, it, or
I
that
would
they're
rather be in a room full of people who had just shown me a recent negative COVID test than a room full of people that are vaccinated. I would feel less
Right.
likely to get COVID.
And these are both, it's like with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, the vaccine situation, like, it's just shit that makes you go,
Something's
what-
not right.
where
What
are
the
they
fuck?
getting, what perspective are they fucking seeing it from? You know what I
I
mean?
understand it's easy. There's a bunch of people just like, just get it. Just, you know, we don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want this. You can get some extra cash for getting it. These are
They
like
pay you
things
to
that
get the
feel like
vaccine?
toys.
They pay
What?
people to get the vaccine?
There's all types of incentive programs out there. A lot of jobs are like, oh, get a free gift card if you get the vaccine. Or you get entered into a raffle for this, for vacation time off if you get the vaccine.
Right.
You know, there's tons of incentive programs out there for getting it.
I
makes it
recently
even more
read that a
suspicious.
federal judge blocked the White House's mandate for health workers to be vaccinated.
Well, because they've been protesting like crazy.
So you work now. I'm against the the vaccine, but so you're telling the people that work in the hospital at first you're gonna lose your job if you don't get it. Now that's
Mhm.
been blocked. But in order to have a scheduled procedure as a civilian, if it's scheduled, not ER, if you make an appointment and you have to get this done or that done or whatever, you have to be vaccinated or you cannot be.
You have people
seen.
working on you that aren't.
What's that?
But then you have people that are working on you, nurses and
Right.
staff, who aren't
Right.
vaccinated.
So it's like all this like double negative standard like bullshit. None of it makes sense. You know, none of it makes
I think people
absolute sense.
realize that, but I feel like people who had already been vaccinated are just like, just get it. Just
I
get
would
it.
too
The-
if I
the
got
people who have already
vaccinated.
been
I would tell
vaccinated,
everyone
they
else to
just
get
have
fucking
no-
vaccinated. Shit.
Yeah, they have no emotional charge about it. They're not worried about it. They're already vaccinated. Like they don't give a fuck. They're just like, okay, yeah.
If
you
you
know,
were
like-
vaccinated, you don't want to hear any of this shit because
right.
you
Sure, if
signed
I
off
did it,
on that
well-
shit. It wasn't approved. If it fucks you up, you can't sue nobody. You're dead in the water. Like,
Right.
And I hate to make it sound like that, but you know, I don't know. That's why I fucking
And
don't
like,
get
I don't
vaccinated.
want to see, I don't want to say like I'm anti-vax. Like,
Me
get
either.
your vaccinations. There's tons of vaccinations, but that been out for 40, 50, 60 years.
Right.
The flu shot itself, it changes every single year. So you get the flu shot, it's only protecting against their idea of what the most common flu that season is going to be. Doesn't protect you against any of the other possible flu strains out there. And since they change it every year, you don't even know what it's going to do. So that's
Yeah.
just an example of them year to year tweaking the flu shot. And now you got this vaccine that they're tweaking and coming out with quickly that has a bunch of money behind it and getting it out there. And then they're like, oh, get this and you're good. Then it's like, oh, wait, now you got to get boosters. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, now there's a new variant and that vaccine that you just got isn't going to help against this variant. How many more variants are there going to be?
Right.
How many more shots am I going to have to get?
And it's like if you're vaccinated once, do you technically meet that mandate? Are people just optionally getting the boosters? Or is it like if you get vaccinated and then you don't get the boosters or you don't get the new ones for the variants, are you going to be considered not vaccinated again?
Right. It's going to keep growing into a thing. And I think some people will be turned off and some people will just keep sticking with it. But we're
This
at a
is
time
live and happening like right now. It's happening right now. Cause like just
think it's
on the like the
point.
conspiracy segment,
like-
I would rather talk about aliens and all this other type of stuff. I don't mean for this trial to sound like it directly connects to this. Maybe it doesn't. And even if it doesn't, all of this COVID shit is still absolutely insane to the point where you
Right.
can't not
you
be
can't
like,
avoid
what's
it.
going
Because
on?
even if it has nothing to do with COVID, it just, what it all boils down to is our trust in organizations such as health organizations, government organizations that back in the 50s, nobody questioned. There was no question. And since then, when no one questioned, tons of things have happened throughout history for us to keep questioning what we're being fed.
Right.
And that's why the older generations are a little bit more easy to be like, oh, well, we'll just trust them. And the younger generations have seen so much happen that is not trustworthy, that is shady, that has been proven wrong, that now we're full of questions and we're being hated on the people who've never had a question.
Right. Yeah.
And then now there's divides.
Yeah, they
Now
used
there's
to arrest
divides and
people and
people are
throw them
going
in
against
prison
each
for
other.
weed, and now it's legal, you know?
So we're divided
Think
politically.
about it. Think about it this
Divided
way.
medically.
Think about it this way. Like for example, the vaccines. What if it's like, okay, people are disagreeing, but everyone's like agreeing to disagree. People who don't want the vaccine are doing their protests. It's whatever. And then, so what do they do? Because, you know, what if the people aren't as divided as they want them? So what do? It's like release the Kyle Rittenhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're not
good
divided
dissent.
enough. It's not emotionally charged. We need that fear energy. We need that divide.
Can't trust no one.
Something else. Yeah. Really, you know, then they enact this. And then if we have unity, you know, if we're working our way back to unity, they release this thing, you know? So really, it seems like the main goal is to avoid unity with the people because we're powerful. We're more high vibrational, but all of those things, you know, but I think
that
this
speaks on everything. That speaks on everything that we always talk about, no matter what the topic is what's been happening is about dividing people.
Yeah.
Whether
Think
the
about it.
argument's
Has there been
kneeling or
anyone
not kneeling, whether it's about, you know, civil rights, whether it's about Republican or Democrat, whether it's about vaccinated, unvaccinated, all this is dividing us. And I know we talk about this all the time on the podcast.
Have we ever seen anything get so big that the people are unanimous, like against the government or all united about one thing? We never see that. The media just pumps out, fucking tube feeds us shit that it's like 50-50 on. You know what I mean?
Media has always been used, and ever since it's been media, it's almost like it was created as a tool for that purpose, because it's the countries where there is, you know, revolutions, you know what I mean, where some point people stop listening to that shit, or things get so bad they stop listening to that shit.
Right. Yeah.
Do you guys know when the biggest shift happened with the media having spins was when Freud would help assist with how to control the masses?
Yeah, I wouldn't deny.
So Freudian, like Freud, everyone knows who Freud is.
Yeah.
He helped with, I don't know if it was back like I want to say 60s or 70s, something like that, with burning the bras and women can smoke and all these things of how to pump out information that would help control the masses for everybody to be on the same page that you want them to be on. So he did a lot of coaching towards how to kind of like blast media to get everybody behind what the news stations wanted them to get behind. So literally psychology was used to formulate how the news should be. Like there's whole things about whether, okay, in this newscast, we're going to call it a shooter, a gunner, or a sniper. Okay, so how fearful do we want people to be from this news segment?
How quick
Do we want
does
them
it
to not
catch
be that
attention?
worried? Do we want them not be that worried and say, a disturbed teenager, with emotional issues, or are we going to call him a sniper? Like, which way do you want this specific case to be viewed? So little things like that you don't realize it's pumped out specifically.
Words are so powerful. Our word is our wand. I say it all the time. It speaks life and death.
Right.
An author dies by their word.
It literally breathes life. You breathe life and death with your word. You know what I mean? Nicki Minaj said something about that too. She's spot on. Because you really do. You can speak life into things or speak death into things, period. And that's always been a really powerful piece of knowledge to have.
Well, one thing we can know is something big's coming. There is divides with our justice system, divides with our medical system, divides with our political system. And it's like, where do we stand? Where do we sit? Are we going to fight each other on our differences, or are we going to try to figure things out together?
Well, Jesus needs to get down here. That's what needs to happen.
Jesus needs to get down here. You ready for the end?
I wanted Jesus' peace, man.
I wanted Jesus' peace. No, but it does make you wonder if it's end times. A lot of the Revelation stuff that no one wants to read.
End times, right? Some people say 2012 was an end of the world. It's just the beginning of something different. You know what I mean?
Well, that could have been the beginning of the end, and the beginning of the end could be a 100-year-long thing.
Like
a
my God.
retrograde.
But again, like we said, the Revelation, or they say that apocalypse, technically what the actual meaning is a slow, steady increase of light until all the dark is gone, but they put us.
So maybe the increase of light is our knowledge.
Think about it. Every single thing that's happening right now is forcing people to take their power back. At the end of the day, it might be ugly. We might be scared, but people are stepping up and saying no. And it's actually quite a beautiful thing. I learned in my healing processes, in my lessons, you get pushed so bad and such an ugly thing until you stand up and you say, this is enough. You make changes. And then it's such a beautiful thing came from it. Such a beautiful, necessary change that you're like, I just wouldn't have made that change if it didn't get that bad, So, I mean, that's a good
Push
thing.
in the corner.
Right. Exactly.
So this is a time period of fight or flight, and we kind of figure out who we are, and we have to make decisions that we didn't think we'd have to make. And we have to, through all of the hardship, still know how to love each other.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That is the hard part. But through the astrology review of what's happening in December, through the holistic alternatives of taking care of yourself, or the conspiracy theories of knowing what's going on around you, we thank you guys all for tuning in to our Kind of Fake News. Please learn, smile, wonder with us.
Bye.
Bye, guys.